All right, we have more changes unfolding over in the swamp of Washington, D.C. Changes that have a new border immigration deal in the works, a deal that both Republicans and Democrats are signing onto in the Senate. Republicans like Lindsey Graham loving this, right up his alley. And we know this because a draft copy was leaked to the press, and some of the items in this bill are astonishing. Not to mention, it exacerbates the problem that we already have with lack of housing in this country. Do you know that asylum seekers can buy homes and work legally? Totally different migrant status than an illegal immigrant. They are technically illegal immigrants who can skip the line and jump right to the front. I mean, they're legal because they have asylum status. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps me out. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that so you continue receiving these regular updates. Also, check out our new daily show over at the NotifyAmerica YouTube channel. The link is in the description. So in the halls of Congress, a bipartisan effort is underway to ink a new immigration and border deal, negotiating the provisions right now in the Senate, spearheaded by Republican Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma and supported by other Republicans like Lindsey Graham, working to finalize this deal and package it up with a $106 billion national security supplemental that includes military funding for Ukraine, for Israel, and for Taiwan, something that the new Speaker of the House was completely opposed to. This is a nightmare of a bill, folks. The language in the leaked draft includes things like thresholds at the southern border. For instance, 5,000 migrants are allowed to cross per day, allegedly. Anything over that, and they'll be expelled back to Mexico, it says. Also, taxpayer-funded lawyers, government-sponsored housing, and more. Meanwhile, down at the southern border, we just ended 2023, with the worst month in the history since we began keeping records, with over 276 asylum seekers entering the country last month, and more than 300,000 people overall. More than 3 million migrants entered the United States last year, and it's estimated that 2024 will top that, coming in possibly around 4 million people. Think about that for a minute. The entire state of Wyoming only has a population of 578,000 people. Well, we just saw 3 million people enter the country illegally last year. That's 6 Wyomings. Where do the people go? They need some place to live, they need food, they need clothes, they need shelter, jobs, homes. Well, that's the little secret that most Americans don't realize, how a few years ago, something changed. No longer do the people crossing the southern border try to avoid CBP, Border Patrol. A decade ago, migrants would try to sneak into the country, live in the shadows, work under the table, but those days are gone. They are now being instructed to file asylum instead, because asylum seekers don't have to live that way. You can skip the wait, jump to the front of the line, and most importantly, you can work legally, be employed legally. If you've been wondering why the unemployment rate hasn't budged, it's still hovering around 3.7%. We have a terrible economy. Small businesses are closing shop, corporations filing for bankruptcy, most bankruptcies since the great financial crisis, yet the unemployment rate hasn't spiked. Why is that? Well, for the first time ever, foreign-born workers now firmly outnumber native-born workers in this country. Look at this chart. The BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, released the numbers, the most recent payroll data last week, and here's what it shows. The green line is foreign-born workers. The red line, native-born. Look closely at what these two lines show when they begin to diverge. 3 years ago, in 2020, this is artificially boosting the job numbers. American workers are suffering, losing their full-time jobs, being forced to pick up multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet. And they're now competing with the 3+ million new migrants that illegally crossed the southern border. Look, over the last 3 years, illegal immigration has exploded, just exploded. There is no comparison to previous administrations. There's no justification or word salad someone can come up with to explain away what's happening. This chart recently went mega viral on social media. What it shows is how for the first time ever, the United States is seeing more illegal immigrants enter the country each month than we are native U.S. births. More new immigrants than Americans each month. And you could see it most clearly in the big population centers. Migrants flooding the streets of major cities like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Denver, Atlanta, Boston, just to name a few. Here is the Democrat mayor of New York City pleading a few weeks ago to the Biden administration, to the White House, to do something about this. We need help. We are beyond our breaking point, he said. Watch this.
We're seeing the erosion of the quality of life that we've improved on in such a short period of time of this administration. And we have been impacted. For many months, we were able to keep the visualization of this crisis from hitting our streets, but we have reached a breaking point. We're no longer able to do that because of the volume in numbers. Just last week, we had 3,900 people that arrived here. We are averaging anywhere from 2,500 to close to 4,000 a week. And if you do the math, you see that's 8,000 every 2 weeks, potentially 16,000 a month that we must feed, clothe, house, educate children, and all the services that you would give a normal adult. And we're seeing that play out on our streets of New York. And that is what the breaking point looks like, what we are experiencing right now.
And New York City is a self-described sanctuary city, welcoming anyone and everyone, the Big Apple, regardless of immigration status. But nope, not anymore. There is no more room. Migrants are now going homeless, going hungry, as the hotels and shelters are all full. There's not enough food to feed them, not enough beds to house them. They are literally camping outside to make room, going homeless, going hungry in some cases. So why are they letting this happen? What good can possibly come from it? It's forcing American citizens to compete for jobs and for homes. Think about it. There's only 700,000 active listings on the market right now. The housing market has a lack of available single-family homes. Well, there's no law against asylum seekers buying a house. The United States lets anyone buy a house. The only thing you need is to qualify for the mortgage. Even the mayor of Chicago, a self-described socialist, is saying his city is buckling under the strain.
The technical support that we receive from the federal government, we appreciate that. Work authorization to put people on a pathway to sustainability, I certainly appreciate that. And without real significant investment from our federal government, it won't just be the city of Chicago that won't be able to maintain this mission. It's the entire country that is now at stake. But in no way what the state of Texas is doing is helping the cause. As much as we recognize that there are challenges, significant challenges at the border, and we do need real substantive immigration reform and policies that allow us to have a structure and a pathway to citizenship. But again, sending buses all over the state of Illinois and all over the country is reckless and quite frankly is dangerous.
So what's the current administration doing about this? Nothing. They are enabling it, sending the military down to the border, not to stop the inflow, not to repel the caravans of people flowing into the country, but to streamline it, help Border Patrol process them quicker, turn it into a well-run operation, a well-run funnel. The only person doing anything about it is Texas Governor Greg Abbott right now, who's decided to take the problem into his own hands. He passed a new law authorizing state troopers and Texas military department, who oversees the Texas National Guard, to arrest any illegal migrant that they see, a law which the Biden administration is suing them over. Then last week, Greg Abbott sent his National Guard to Eagles Pass, Texas, and they kicked federal Border Patrol out of one of the major border crossings that these caravans are using to enter the country. The Texas military, under Greg Abbott's authority and under the authority of this new Texas law, have physically removed federal Border Patrol. They've set up barricades to prevent the federal government from entering the area. Think about that. And they've begun to actually secure the border for the first time. Videos are even starting to surface showing the Texas Military Department forming these lines across the border and physically preventing migrants from crossing. When someone does break through that line, though, a second line of National Guard quickly apprehend the person and arrest them, effectively sealing that specific crossing point. This is what it's come to. The complete incompetence of our federal government to do their job has a governor being forced to step up and do it for them. And it's a very odd time when you have Democrat mayors supporting what Greg Abbott is doing. Bottom line is Congress has to change the law. And no, this new draft bill that was leaked is not the type of law that we need. It should be simple. It's the simplest problem that there is. The border works the same way that a security checkpoint works at the airport. If you don't have your papers and identification, then you're denied entry. If you cross the checkpoint illegally, you're immediately deported, immediately put back over the border where you came from. The same way it works at the airport. If someone tries to sneak past the security checkpoint at the airport, do they just catch and release them? No, you're arrested and you're taken out of the terminal. It's not difficult. But we have weak politicians like Lindsey Graham and Republican Senator James Lankford who are negotiating for legalizing this activity, just putting a daily threshold in place. No more than 5,000 people a day can break the law. Any more than that, and we draw the line. It's ridiculous. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Also, don't forget to check out our new daily show over at the Notify America YouTube channel. The link is in the description.